to get them to sign off for you to be able to take, what other medication are you able to take as much of as you want, as often as you want, in whatever strength you want, and never have to go back and see that doctor until 2 years later when you want him to sign off on it again, so that you can take as much as you want, as often as you want, whatever strength you want. It doesn't happen with any other medicine. But that's what they want. And that's what 788 says. And so, again, another issue that we as the legislature have to deal with. Are we going to really treat it like it is in medicine, which means we're going to have to repeal parts of 788 in order to do that? But, yeah, great question. Yes.
I know going forward here, how much is this costing the state of Oklahoma? Since we didn't go to get 788, I want to say properly, I mean, there's lots of questions and things that are on. How much is this a detriment when it comes to Oklahoma's? I mean, we're already in a bad budget situation with a lot of programs. So what's projected that this is actually going to cost the state of Oklahoma?
Well, another great question. So, as far as the cost goes, so far with all these licenses that have been issued, and they vary in cost, the individual user license, I believe, is $100. It's in the statute. It's $100 or $125. It's a fairly nominal amount. A grower's license is $2,500, I believe. And let me put that in perspective. These these California growers that I am talking to on a regular basis to get information about how the industry works, they're saying in California to go through all of the licensing process that you have to go through there, it's in the neighborhood of $250,000 to get that license. But in Oklahoma, it's $2,500. Okay, and that's part of the reason why we have the 956 grower licenses already issued. But anyway, the sum total of all the licenses that have already been issued have generated, I think the figure was about $7 million. And the cost of doing it so far has not been that great. So actually, so far, the state has made money. Now that money that they've made has to sit in the bank, that they can't use it at this point, but the health department has an extra $30 million from that fiasco that happened last year, and that's what they've been operating all of this from up to this point. Now the other thing is that 788 imposes a 7% tax on the marijuana. Up until last week, 2 weeks ago, it was my understanding that and it's a 7% excise tax, that 7% was the only tax that the state would be collecting on. And the concern for me on that was all of the other states that have marijuana, whether recreational or medical, I mean, their taxes are around 30%, and yet ours was going to be 7%, and the cost of operating their systems in these other states, on average, has been around 10%. So at 7%, we'd actually be losing money on it. Okay, but as of 2 weeks ago, the tax commission was at our meeting, and they were saying that it is their position that this 7% is an excise tax that they collect, and then on top of that, we will collect the regular city, state, and local county sales taxes. So that means at that point we're around 15–16% of tax. I'm not sure that their interpretation is correct, and I really haven't had the opportunity to study that, but that is their interpretation, so I'll go with it at this point. So the taxes, now the sales taxes are collected obviously at the sale from the dispensary to the individual. It's not a tax on what the grower sells to the processor or what the processor sells to the dispensary. None of those taxes are collected at that point, but the 7% excise tax, I believe, would be collected at the point of sale of the grower to the processor. So, does the state of Oklahoma make money on it or lose money? With the position that the tax commission is taking, I think we make a little bit of money. We're certainly not going to be getting the kind of money that Colorado is getting with their 30% tax, which is allowing them to put a whole lot of money into schools and other infrastructure issues. But at least, hopefully, we're not going to lose money on it.
May I ask a question?
Certainly, I'll come back to you.
Can you take us through the process from the grower to the buyer? Can you take us through the steps? We're talking greenhouses or hothouses, and then can you tell us that, how it's?
Okay, so the grow operations that are required under 788 are anything. Okay, you could grow, if you have 40 acres of pasture land out here, you can decide, well, I'm going to turn that under and not run cattle on it anymore. I'm going to grow marijuana. And you can do it under 788 if you get your grow license. And so you can have the 40 acres all growing in marijuana, and I can assure you every Friday night in the fall, the whole high school will be out there in your pasture. And, you know, how do you control that? I mean, all kinds of problems there. So all of these guys that I consider to be the experts are saying you have to do it as an inside grow operation. Well, different states, like I say, they put limitations on how much you can grow. Some of them are by square footage. Well, okay, you could, so if this was a grow operation in here, it would be however many square feet this was. But the problem is you could stack it all the way to the ceiling, and this is a pretty high ceiling, so you could be growing, 10 times as much as a building that is only a one-story building. So another issue there. But the advantage of growing inside is you control the watering, you control the humidity, you control the lighting, every aspect of the grow operation. So the quality should be better. You don't have to be worried about the farmer next door spraying his crops and the wind drifting some of that chemicals over onto your product and that sort of thing. You have much more security. In every facet of it, you have better security with an inside grow operation. And so all of those people that I've been talking to are all planning on doing inside grows here in Ottawa County. From the grow operation, you then you could be vertically integrated. So you can get a license to do the grow, the processing, the dispensing, if that's what you want. And some of them have done that. But many of them are just wanting to grow. Many of them are just wanting to do the processing. So the processing is, you can take it and just do the processing, dry it, crush it, all of that, and sell it to the dispensary so that the customer comes in and buys it and takes that product and smokes it. Or, as a processor, you could take the oils out of it, the CBD oil, which contains no THC. Well, you can have any kind of CBD oil. You can have pure CBD oil that has no THC, or you can have CBD oil that has THC in it. And it's the THC, which is the illegal component in the States. It's the psychotropic part of the marijuana. You can concentrate that CBD, and there's some of them that are wanting to do this just for the processing CBD oil, which is fine. But you can make things out of them. You can concentrate the THC. I mean, you can buy in Colorado, for instance, you can go into a dispensary and you can buy marijuana that is so highly concentrated, it's like 90% THC. It's called wax or earwax, and there's all kinds of names for it. So to put that in perspective, back in the 70s, when I was in high school, or the 60s, but anyway, way back, the marijuana that was around then was about 3% THC, the psychotropic. Today, because of all the genetic modification, the average plant is around 30% THC. And so that's 1,000 times increase on the concentration right there. But then the processor can concentrate it even more, all the way up to about 90%, I think is about as high as they can get in the 90s. But they use all kinds of different chemicals to do that. Well, you know, how much of those chemicals stay in the content that's sold to the consumer? Well, we don't know in Oklahoma because we don't have any of that testing. They can make it into candy. They can make it into, you know, gummy bears. They can make it into, you know, like candy bars. And that's another issue we've been dealing with. How do we restrict them from making it into products that are designed or designed to appeal to children? You know, we need to restrict that, I think. But that's not addressed yet. That's something the legislature is going to have to do. So, from the processor, you got then it goes to the dispensary, and that's the retail outlet for the product. There's also a transporter's license, and that's the person that is in the business of transporting it from the farm, whether indoor or outdoor, to the processor, and from the processor to the dispensary. So that's another license that's required, and as of yet, according to the information that I've got from the OMMA, there are none of those licenses issued at this point.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is out of curiosity. You seem to be extremely dedicated to cleaning up 788. So my question is, what about your fellow legislators who are serving on your joint committees? How interested are they in cleaning this thing up, or are they leaning more to let's just leave it?
I think, and that's a great question, a very fair question. I think it is every one of us, there are 13 of us on this committee, and I think every one of us is coming at it from the very same approach. Our goal is to try to implement the intent of what the voters voted in. Even what, you know, I didn't agree with it, but the voters voted it in, so that's all water under the bridge at this point. And I think that's fair to say that every one of them wants to do it, but we want to make it a practical, reasonable, workable way to do it that protects. You know, here's another problem that we have. Right now, there is nothing that prohibits you from going to a restaurant and the guy sitting at the table next to you and your family and your kids from lighting up a joint. There is nothing, because the no smoking in public place very specifically says it is tobacco products that it applies to, and only tobacco products. So everybody's in agreement. Yeah, we need to make that apply to marijuana too. But the next problem is vaping, which is now the popular thing, is not covered by the no smoking in public places law, because it only talks about burning the tobacco product. And so vaping is a different process, and so we need to go back in and amend it further to make it where you can't vape tobacco in a public place and where you can't vape marijuana in a public place. So those are I mean, there's just so many different issues with this thing that have to be addressed. But I think everybody on that committee is approaching it with the same attitude. Let's try our best to come up with something that implements what the voters voted in and yet protects everybody as best we can. So obviously, one of the things that we want to do is we can look at what other states have done. I mean, that's always a logical starting place. Many of the states started doing this stuff 20 years ago, and the technology is now outdated. So that's why I'm saying we can take what they have done as a starting point and improve on it and bring it up to date with modern technology, and hopefully end up with the best law in the country. And Lee is moseying up here, which tells me
that you have reached the time